For my project, I chose two television shows. I researched New Girl and The Last Man on Earth. New Girl is a half-hour sitcom that premiered in 2011 on Fox. The show is about Jessica Day, a quirky teacher who gets dumped and ends up moving in with three guys. With an interesting cast of characters, an international basketball player, a loser who works in a bar, a cat-obsessed police officer, and an appearance-obsessed Jewish mama's boy, New Girl is a show that introduces unique situations for comedy. The Last Man on Earth is also a half-hour comedy on Fox, but it aired in March of this year. The show is about Phil Miller, who believes he is the last man on Earth until others, mostly women, find him after he leaves signs saying he is living in Tucson, Arizona. So after doing some research, I found that the target age for New Girl is 18 to 49. I kept thinking, how could a 49-year-old relate to the show? So after doing more digging, I found that people between the ages of 20 and 35 were the ones who related to New Girl the most. I also decided to poll my peers and found that the age group that watches New Girl the most is 18 to 25. An interesting statistic of this age group is that the majority of it is females. The show's creator, Liz Meriwether, states that just because it has the word girl in it, it has forever been branded as a girl show. I never thought of it that way. As the show continues, more males have tuned in to watch it. So there has been a decent drop of views since the season 1 premiere of New Girl. But there was a struggle when it came to actors, which is one of the suspected causes of the serious drop in views in season 3. Damon Wayans Jr. left the show after the first episode, then returned in season 3. However, his character had been replaced by a different character, Winston. Spoiler alert, it's also in season 3 that Nick and Jess get together, but that moment came too quickly in the show. While it's what the fans wanted, they wanted to wait longer for it. There were a couple of flaws of New Girl, which all began in season 3. Nick and Jess get together, which is the moment the audience had been waiting for, but their character arcs, especially Nick's, weren't complete and they weren't ready to be together. Coach, played by Damon Wayans Jr., left the show after the first episode, but returned in season 3. This confused the audience and made a mess of the show and the characterization of Coach and Winston. When Coach was reintroduced to the show, Winston's character needed to be re-evaluated as him and Coach were too similar. The writers experimented with Winston, and only recently was he given a solid character trait. In season 3, Schmidt went through a dark phase and became a villain to himself and others. The writers admitted that although he needed to go through something, they perhaps made him too dark. All these missteps in season 3 were factors in driving away the audience and causing a drop in ratings. The viewers didn't respond well to the show's mistakes. Like New Girl, The Last Man on Earth is geared towards the 18 to 49 demographic. The age group of 20 to 35 is also the age group that finds the show most relatable, as the majority of the characters are between these ages. During my poll, 18 to 25 was also the age range that the show is most popular with. The comedy of the show is a bit different than other sitcoms, in that it is a bit more dry, and this age group was the most open to that. The Last Man on Earth isn't necessarily geared towards a certain gender, but some women found the main character, Phil Miller, immature and sexist. So there wasn't much from people on fan sites or anything, but I found comments from a promo for the New Girl pilot. There were plenty of comments that didn't speak to the show's characters or plot, but I did find some interesting comments. This TV show is not bad, but this Jess character is so immature, irritating, and not funny. My head starts to hurt every time she speaks. Other characters are okay, especially Schmidt. One of the best shows I've seen in years. Oh man, just finished watching season 1 and season 2 of New Girl. Anyone got any recommendation on what to watch next? Something similar would be great. Love the humor in this, and the show really gets you hooked on their pilot episode. The place has 3 single guys and the place is clean? What kind of weird shit is that? For the promo for The Last Man on Earth, people stated their excitement and concerns for the show. Now that football season is over, Fox has a reason to enjoy Sunday night, and I think it's going to be filled with laughter. Good job, Fox. Just finished watching the first episode. Will Forte pulls off The Last Man on Earth. Recommend watching. It's not a bad show. Only real complaint I have is maybe other people show up in like the 4th episode. Like just to see how Phil is just by himself. Yeah, we get the first episode, but could be more. The title is so misleading. Every new episode, a new person just happens to appear. Not sure how I feel about this. It's basically Castaway with a twist. Not sure I care to watch one man interact with himself and no one. The trailer looks good, but I feel that it's hyped up and won't be as funny in context. So, another factor of lower TV views for these shows is online streaming. Hulu is the most used for New Girl and The Last Man on Earth, and Netflix comes in second for New Girl. So, in these next 2 slides, I've put in quotes from the writers of The Last Man on Earth and New Girl, and they discuss and explain their characters. The whole show is the arc of Phil Miller, and it was always Will's plan to have him kind of go crazy and have a dark period where he sort of needed to learn a lot of things. So we're midway through that journey now of him learning to be a better person, and this first season tells one chapter of the story of Phil Miller. People really relate to Phil's struggle. When you're asking about what this guy's journey is going to be like, we always talked about him as this person who is very flawed. He's a person who maybe needed the entire world to end in order for him to become his best self. He could eventually get back to being the person that all of us hope we can be. So since not every show appeals to everyone, it is important to know why and hear the logic behind the characters and plot. Liz Meriwether admits a mistake of the relationship between Nick and Jess on New Girl by saying, "What I love about Nick is what a fucking idiot he is. It's hard when you have Jess, who is this lovable girl. It was fun when she was flirting with this fucking idiot she lived with, but then they were dating. Suddenly everything got so much more real." Because comedically we were struggling with the Nick and Jess relationship, a lot of our comedy energy in the writer's room was going to Winston. It was like we could do anything with him, and so we did. One of the big things we decided going into this year was to really simplify the storytelling. I feel like when we got into trouble last year, we were often biting off more than we could chew. You make some mistakes when writing. Storytelling isn't easy. So here are some results from my personal poll of New Girl. When asked, "What is your gender?" 85% were female and 15% were male. When asked, "What is your age range?" 0% were age 0 through 17. 81%, the majority, were age 18 to 25. 8% were age 26 through 35. 4% were age 36 through 45, and 8% were age 45 or older. When asked, "Do you watch New Girl right when it airs or stream it later?" 0% said when it airs, 96% said stream it later, and 4% said other, which included answers such as half and half and Netflix. When asked, "Do you still watch New Girl?" 54% said yes, 4% said no, and 42% said when I can. So these were all the statistics I gathered of views and ratings of New Girl and The Last Man on Earth, and why some people have stopped watching these shows. Because The Last Man on Earth is a new show, there wasn't much out there on fan sites or blogs or anything to give me a good idea as to why the majority of people did or didn't like the show, but I found as much as I could, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.